Right, what's up mga ka-investa, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Stock. So it's been a while since our last episode, as there weren't a lot of IPOs last year given the market conditions. A lot of companies decided to move their IPOs in 2023, and we finally have our first one in Alternergy. And ever since the announcement of the IPO, you guys have been asking us, no, ano ba yung mga insights namin dito? What do we think about the company? What do they do? How do they operate? What do we think about this IPO? And we thought, who better to ask, right, about Alternergy than the people behind the company themselves? So today, I'm joined by two very special guests, of course, the Chairman of Alternergy, Sir Vince, and the President, Sir Jerry. So hi mga sir, good morning, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Paolo. Good to be here.
Right, so majority of our audience are really retail traders with all of the questions that I just mentioned, and we wanted to ask them directly to you guys. So the way I structured the interview is I'm going to focus on three main points. I'm going to touch on the management, more about Alternergy, more about the company, and then more details about the IPO. So I'd like to start with the first question for Sir Vince. No? So Sir Vince, for the benefit of our audience, could you tell me more about the company? So what does Alternergy do, and how do you guys operate?
We only do clean energy for the country. Wind, solar, run-of-river hydro, sometimes battery storage, and maybe the next frontier, offshore wind. That's what we bring clean energy to the country, which needs power desperately.
All right, great. And sticking with you, Sir Vince, so as I mentioned, one of the important considerations when you want to invest in a company, especially in a new IPO, is you want to kind of know about the management team. So what are some of the guiding principles, right, that's followed by the Alternergy management team?
Okay, first, we like to be pioneers, because by being a pioneer, you learn, make your mistakes early, you learn how to be ahead of the game, and third, we can set ourselves differently by being proactive with the industry. Remember, energy is very highly regulated. Jerry and I are very involved talking to the energy regulators, the DOE, and our special advantage is that a lot of us came from the government. The DOE, some of us were presidents of Transco, the electrification administration of all the co-ops. We have an assistant secretary from DNR, DILG, DND, because doing a power project in this country requires a lot of permits. So you have to be patient. You gotta talk to them to get all these permits to get a project in place.
Got it. And sticking with you still, Sir Vince, for our next question. So we've seen a lot of companies take the high road when it comes to sustainability and social impact, but fail to succeed as a business, right? So how then does Alternergy, right, balance sustainability and social impact and still continue to succeed as a company in terms of achieving your revenue targets or your bottom line targets?
Correct. Good question, Paolo. We subscribe to what we call a quadruple bottom line philosophy. Now, what does that mean? First, bottom line, we have to make money. And all our projects, Jerry and I are constantly asking the entire team, this project, how much cash flow will it generate? We have a term called EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortizations. Thanks, Jerry. So we always said, what cash flow will this generate? What cash flow will this hydro generate? When will it come on stream? This solar project, how much cash flow will it generate? Because for us, that's really what will benefit the shareholders. So that's the first bottom line. The second bottom line is carbon reduction. We have, today I was looking out at the skyline, we have a smog. Not a single project we have can produce pollution. We don't have a single megawatt of oil, gas, diesel, or bunker fuel. We're here to reduce the impact of fossil fuel on the environment. That's our second bottom line. And we could easily measure it with what we call carbon tons emission. But people don't understand the carbon ton. So we translate it to how many dirty jeepneys can we displace from the streets. And right now, I think we have something like 139,000 jeepneys we could remove. Third, bottom line, how can we help the community? Remember, these projects are usually in mountains, in rivers, and we are just the guest of the host communities. So to make sure we support what we call our social fence, the villages around us, we make sure that our community relations program give benefit to them, livelihood, environment, education, or health. That's so important, because if they're not happy with us being there, we're not going to be able to operate in that place. And fourth, employee satisfaction. We're a 21st century. We have a lot of young people here who've joined us because they believe in clean energy. That came from mining, from construction. They're here because they believe in the mission of the company, clean energy.
Okay, thanks for those surveys. Now I'd like to ask the next question to you, Sir Jerry. So Alternergy has been here for a while. So Alternergy is a pioneer in the renewable energy space, no. So is it becoming a concern, or are you worried that even more companies now are coming into the space as of late?
Thank you for that question. We're actually we welcome those partners, as we call them, or colleagues in the industry. We're, as Vince mentioned earlier, we are pioneers, and we're confident in our ability to carry out the projects that we plan to do. And working with colleagues like we, as you term them, competitors, we work together as an industry, and the more there are in the industry, the better for us. So we have a stronger voice in pushing with our advocacies. And like I said, we're confident in our ability to carry out our projects as pioneers. We've done it many times in several projects that we've done. So yeah, we're comfortable.
Alright, great. Thanks for that, Sir Jerry. Now back to you, Sir Vince.
Yes.
No, now I was reading the prospectus for the IPO. Right, one of the things I saw that separates Alternergy from its competitors is its triple play strategy. So for the benefit of our viewers, could you elaborate more on this?
Okay, so look at me. I'm wearing what looks like a farmer's guayabera, right? We're farmers. We farm the wind resource, we farm the rain, we farm the sunshine. Now, those three are God-given, right? But they're not always predictable. You could have a river that's more months where it's rainy, July to December. You could have a solar that's pretty much steady all year round, but only during the day, and particularly during the March, April, summer months, like this month. And then finally, we have wind, which tends to blow during the amihan, between October and March. But if we're only a single play company, like a solar farm, we don't really benefit from all the seasonalities. But by combining these three seasonalities, we could provide a steady cash flow for our retail investors and to pay dividends to them, give them capital appreciation, and pay our lenders the debt service. That's why the triple play makes us unique, differentiating us from the other IPOs in the past.
I agree. Thanks for elaborating on that, Sir Vince. Now, I'd like to throw the next question back to you, Sir Jerry. I'm curious to know, how difficult was it to set up your first on-grid wind farm, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's the Bangi Bay Wind Farm, which was also the first in Southeast Asia. So pioneer talaga si Alternergy. So how difficult was that? And how did this pave the way to who Alternergy is today?
So yeah, looking back at what we've done in the Bangi Bay project, this was prior to the formation of Alternergy. It was us as individuals. We were part of that organization, the Bangi Bay, the North Wind Project. Now, it gave us a glimpse and experience of what it would take to be a developer of renewable energy projects. At the time, there were still no legislation or regulatory guidelines, so we had to navigate through that uncertainty in terms of those guidelines. So we worked with government, with different agencies, and helped those agencies craft policies that actually led to the birth of the renewable energy industry, as well as other policies that really guides us in terms of how do we implement those policies. Now, from that experience, we've then formed the idea of having Alternergy to bring it to the next level. So we had partners there in Northwind. They were happy to stay in the Northwind project, and we just had to, with Vince, myself, and Kanud, we decided that okay, let's move to the next level and create Alternergy, and that's what we did. So with that experience behind us, then we just basically capitalized on it.
Yeah.
Right.
If I could add to what Jerry, one of our concerns there was that we were way at the tip of Northern Luzon. But to build the transmission line, we had to build 57 kilometers to tap to the nearest substation of the grid, which was in Lawag. We learned that there were going to be congestions in transmission in the north. That's why we moved further south. And that's why we built our second wind farm in Pililla, Rizal, just 40 kilometers away. It became a tourist attraction because it was so close to Metro Manila. And in North Wind, everyone was crawling around as tourists. Everyone. But here in Pililla, we didn't want people to get hurt by falling over a cliff or touching a live cable. So we set up this visitor center where people can come in, enjoy the view, enjoy the lake, and it became a very popular tourist destination. 360,000 people visit that a year. I wish I set up a coffee shop. I missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I hope some of our retail investors get to visit the place. Motorbikes go there for weekends, cyclists go up and go down. And we put up information panels to educate everyone who go up why renewable energy is good for the country, who is Alternergy, and why Pililla Rizal was chosen as a wind farm location.
I agree. Thanks for sharing that, Sir Jerry, Sir Vince. So, Jerry, would you like to add more? Or okay,
No, we're good.
all right. So I'd like to stick with the next question for you. No, so we touched on the management, we touched on Alternergy as a company. So now I have a question about the IPO. No, so where will the proceeds of 1.87 billion be allocated?
About 40% of that proceeds will go towards our equity participation for two shovel-ready projects, the Lamut project and the Solana Solar project. The Lamut project is a run-of-river hydro project in Ifugao. So another 38% of that amount will go to the payment of our acquisition of the Kirahon Solar project. So we acquired the Kirahon Solar project last year, which gave us controlling interest in that project. So that's a good chunk of the use of proceeds. Around 10-11% of the proceeds will go towards funding our continuing development cost on our pipeline of projects. So there's a number of them. There's Ibulao project for another run-of-river hydro project. There's Tanay wind project. There's Alabat wind project. The offshore wind project. So those are the main uses for our pipeline. And then we are also allocating about 30-40 million pesos to operationalize our retail electricity supply business. This is a very important sector of our business because this is the way where we are able to blend our triple play portfolio of wind, run-of-river, and hydro projects, because we are going to go to contestable customers, and that's through this retail electricity supply, and that's how we're going to do the blending of this triple play portfolio. There you go. That rounds up the use of proceeds.
Great. Thanks, Sir Jerry. Now, for the next question for Sir Vince. No?
Yes.
So, what can retail investors expect if they decide to become shareholders in Alternergy?
Okay. I like our retail investors, and my brothers wants to invest. I have a cousin who wants to invest. I have a nephew who wants to invest. One, you have to believe in the story first. You have to believe that clean energy is right for the country, and it is right. We need that. We're so dependent on imported fuel. Two, clean energy, particularly renewable energy, we could sell over 20 years the same price, fixed. So we don't have to have these problems of fluctuating power rates. When we offer a contract to an electric co-op, we could offer them a 20-year price fixed for 20 years. But what makes us also unique is that the management team in a previous career have taken companies public. We were bankers before, so we know what it takes to be a listed company. We know our responsibility to our retail investors. One, we're going to make sure we are very above board with our reporting. No funny business. Two, we will be growing the company in terms of cash flow. We're driven, and we have already a very firm project pipeline for the next 5 years. We have 3 law firms who reviewed the prospectus you saw. None there are any flimsy MOU, letter of intent, pie in the sky. All are real projects. We have 29 service contracts in the company, 1 in Palau, that makes it 30 projects. We are just pivoting by being public to grow this pipeline over the next 5 years. So hang on to your shares. Don't just sell after 6 months if you see it bump up. Just hang on to it, because all of us, senior management team, are owners. There's no big corporate company behind us that we're merely professionals. We are shareholders. So we're aligned with all investors. And lastly, I'd like you to, our fellow investors, to participate in what I call the green capitalism. We know that dentists in Denmark are able to own their own windmills. Bollywood actors in India own their own renewable projects. So why not families, young professionals in the Philippines participate in what I call green capitalism, the capitalism that Investa is in the forefront. So by participating in Alternergy, you're participating in the green capitalism revolution that I want more people to share.
I agree. Thanks for those, Sir Vince. So now, I'm down to my last two questions. And these questions these are more bigger picture questions. I'd like to ask the first one to Sir Jerry. So, Sir Jerry, where do you think the renewable energy industry in the Philippines will be heading towards in the future?
Well, we see the future of renewable energy as bright. Why? Because we currently have a very favorable regulatory environment. There are three main legs to support that. One is the government is bent on increasing the share of renewable energy in the power mix in the country to as much as 50% by 2040. Second, we have policy mechanisms in place already under the Renewable Energy Law. One is the feed-in tariff system, which is still very much in place, which is now, there's a sub variant to it, which is called the Green Energy Auction Program. So it's going to be done on an annual basis. That creates a program where developers will be incentivized to build projects because there's going to be an assurance of an offtake agreement at the end of the day through this auction program. Third is to provide an impetus in terms of demand. The government also embarked on increasing the renewable portfolio standard. What it means is that it creates a demand for renewable energy power in this country, not all throughout the country. So it increased it from 1% to 2.5% requirement. So all consumers, distribution utilities in the country will have to buy a certain amount of their load from renewable energy. That creates a lot of demand for renewable energy. So we hope that the company will be actively participating in these programs of government, and that's why we see that we are happy to have partners, competitors, as you may call it, but we believe that Alternergy is in a good place to take advantage of these opportunities.
I agree. Thanks for that, Sir Jerry. And for my final question, back to you, Sir
Yes,
Vince.
Paolo.
So, what would you and the rest of your team like Alternergy's impact to be for future generations?
Well, all of us have young children. Jerry's daughter is 9 years old. 6 years old, sorry. My daughter is 4 years old. We're attending their graduation at the end of the month.
Yes.
We're really building this for that next generation, for the young professionals. I had once a family reunion. I brought all my nephew and nieces to visit the Pililla Rizal Wind Farm. And I said, look, this legacy is for you. Rather than us building a very tall building with our name, I'd rather that you remember us, that we built this wind farm. Because this really will alter your future. By altering the landscape with clean energy, we're altering your future for a cleaner tomorrow. So really, that's why we call this a triple play for the next generation, because for us, it's very personal. We have our own children. We want to leave behind a legacy of clean power.
Wow. All right. I can't think of a better way to wrap up this interview. I think that's a great way to end everything. So again, Sir Vince, Sir Jerry, thank you so much for your time. And to all of our audience watching this interview, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this added value. Right? And again, this has been Behind the Stock by Investa. I'm your host, Toma, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.